Ever since I was little, I've dreamed of Paris. I remember the first picture I saw of the Eiffel Tower in a textbook. It was nothing more than a picture. However, for me, it was a whole world of possibilities. I grew up with my family in a small village in Spain, a quiet little place with endless hills stretching into the distance. Regionalism made my life less complicated, but I gradually realized that perhaps my purpose was somewhere bigger. I wanted to study in Paris. I wanted to live there, in the city of light. I wanted to experience everything that was there. When I was just 18, I finally decided that I would try to go there. I applied for a scholarship to a university in Paris. I knew it would be difficult. There would be many obstacles along the way. When my parents heard this, they were worried. At this point, it was my father who said, "Mary, don't go to Paris. It's too far. You don't know anyone there. It's a huge city, not like here." My mother added, "We want you to be safe. We've always been here together." But deep down, I already knew that this was my dream. I had to make it happen. I applied with all my heart. I waited for weeks, and one day, my letter arrived. I opened it with shaking hands. "Congratulations, Mary. You've been accepted to the University of Paris." I couldn't believe my eyes. It was true. My heart was pounding. I felt like I was on top of the world. I had done it. My dream was finally coming true. In the days leading up to my departure, I was so excited and anxious. I packed my bag with my clothes, my books, and all the things I thought I would need in Paris. I was eagerly anticipating my visit to the Louvre, sitting in a cafe by the Seine and watching the sunset from the Eiffel Tower. But of course, my parents were still worried. "You take care of yourself," Dad would say. "You're far from home. The city can be dangerous." "I'll be careful, I promise," I would reassure them with all the confidence I could muster. Finally, the day came when I said goodbye to my village, my home, and my family. My parents hugged me tightly at the train station. "Mary will miss you so much," my mother cried. My father gave me one last piece of advice. "Mary, take care of yourself. Be careful." With a lump in my throat, I said goodbye, leaving everything behind for my dreams. When the plane landed in Paris, I felt as if I were in a dream. In front of me stood the city I had only seen in pictures. The glittering Eiffel Tower greeted me from afar. I took a deep breath. Excitement and a slight fear took over me. The time to finally make my dreams come true was near. I settled into a one-room apartment in the university dormitory. The place wasn't very nice, but it was now mine. I plastered the walls with pictures of Parisian streets and unpacked my belongings to make it cozy and feel like home. My new life was beginning. The first few days were great. The city was huge, but I felt so small. The crowds, the noise, and the fast pace of everything were so different from my peaceful village. I was genuinely afraid of getting lost and didn't know how to ask for help, feeling completely isolated at times due to the language barrier. Then, one Saturday afternoon, I packed my things and decided to go to the Louvre. I had always had an unfulfilled desire to stand in front of the Mona Lisa. I wandered through the museum, captivated by one masterpiece after another. However, at one point, I inadvertently took a wrong turn. The hallways began to look the same, and very quickly, I realized that I was lost. Panic took over me. I was lost in a museum as big as a city. I looked around, feeling my heart pounding. I had no guidebook, no guide, and no one to ask for help. Then I saw a woman sitting on a bench. I gathered my courage and walked over to her. "Excusez-moi, madame," I said, my French not perfect. "I seem to be lost. Can you help me?" The woman smiled warmly and replied, "Bien sûr." Without hesitation, she took my arm and walked with me, telling me stories about the museum. I felt no fear as we walked out. She showed me that even in a big city like Paris, there can be good people willing to help. I thanked her, and she smiled and gently shook my hand as she left. That day, I learned an important lesson. Paris wasn't just about the monuments. It wasn't just about the art. It was about the people. The kindness of a stranger helped me realize that on this journey, I wasn't really alone. There were always people there to help. As the weeks went by, I started to feel like home. I learned to fit in, made new friends, improved my French, and explored the city I had always dreamed of. I visited the Eiffel Tower, sat in cafes, and even climbed to the top of the tower to watch the sunset. With each passing day, I learned something new about the city and about myself. But not everything was perfect. There were days when I missed my family, days when I felt defeated, and it took me a long time to convince myself that it was all for the best. There were days when I felt like a small fish in the middle of the ocean. However, these moments did not last long. Each stumble made me a little stronger. I learned to weather every storm. I was here for a reason, and I was not going to give up. One evening, as I sat on the steps of Sacré-Cœur, I looked down at the city. Then I realized Paris was no longer just another city I wanted to visit. It had become a part of me. I actively pursued my dream, and in the process, I discovered a completely different world. I learned to be brave, to hope for help, and to rely on myself in the most difficult times. Paris was as magical as I had always imagined, not because of its landmarks or art, but because of the journey that brought me here. Paris changed me, and I changed Paris a little. I dared to dream, and Paris welcomed me with open arms.